welcome to today's episode of Cooking Out and About. You know, actually, this episode should be called Cooking In, because we're in here at the studio where the show was produced. You know, those summer nights can be really hot, and after a long day of work or just hanging out at the beach, the last thing you probably want to do is go home and heat up your kitchen. So what we're going to do is food that you don't have to cook. Well, you're cooking it, but in the microwave, because, you know, there comes a time where you don't really want to call 1-800-DIAL-A-PIZZA because you've done that every other night that week. So the microwave is a great way to get hot meals without having to use a stove or an oven. And a lot of the food that you can buy today, especially the prepared food, has recipes on it for cooking food in the microwave. Sometimes it cuts out quite a bit of time even, which makes getting your dinner much faster. Today what we're going to do is actually kind of a vegetarian style meal. We're not going to cook any meats. And why not? Because summertime, fruits and vegetables are plentiful and usually priced just right. First thing we're going to do is corn on the cob. Now usually that can be kind of messy because you got to boil up the water, then you got to put the corn in the water, and then take that out and then clean all that up. So what we're going to do is do it in the microwave. And first what you want to do, you want to husk your corn. And now the way to find good corn is what I did really, is I just felt them to see how strong, you know, if they were large. I figured that was a good corn, which you can tell this one is really nice when it's really big at the bottom. It's got a lot of nice color in it. Sometimes what you can do if you're in the store is just kind of peel down the husk just a little bit and look inside to see. And you can see this one here is not a very good corn. It's not, you know, it's kind of real off yellow. Looks like it was picked a little too soon. So we're not going to use that one. I just want to show that one as an example of what corn shouldn't look like that you're going to do. So what you're going to do, just cut off some wax paper. Roll your corn up on it. I'm going to close off the ends a little. We're going to do 3. You want it good and tight. You mind if you want to try putting butter on it beforehand, you know, before cutting it, covering it, excuse me. And otherwise, you can just wait till after. And I'm going to go over to our microwave. And we're just going to put some paper towel down. A couple pieces down. And depending on the size of your microwave, you can probably cook about 3 or 4. And you're going to do that. Now, for an individual corn, it's only 3 minutes. And you add about 3 minutes for each one. So we're going to just set it on, we'll put it on 9. And we'll let that cook. 8 or 9. And that'll just go around. Corn is just such a great thing. You know, you can get it on the cob, off the cob, fresh, frozen. I know this is one of the few vegetables when I was a child that I would actually eat, because I just was not, you know, I was a very picky eater as a child. Of course, popcorn comes from corn. I'm not real sure of how that comes off the corn cob, but I have had some popcorn, which is called popcorn on the cob, and it's a cob of hardened corn, the popcorn, and you just stick it in the microwave. Or sometimes they have a bag that comes with it, and it pops right up off the corn. It's kind of an interesting thing to watch. See that happen. All right. That'll just take a few minutes. So actually what we're going to do, I think we'll go ahead, just get the next one ready. So let me check on this. Looks like my corn's falling off. We have a rotating dish in a microwave. If you don't have that though, you might want to go ahead and turn the corn yourself or rotate it, you know, about halfway through. So for after your corn is done, of course, like I said, you want to smother it in butter. And sometimes they sell corn holders, little dishes you can put them in. I don't have any of those. But one thing you want to get yourself is these little corn end things. And they work great because the corn's going to be really hot. And what you would do afterwards is just stick it in. And it makes it much easier to hold on to. These ones are cute. They're shaped like little corns. And they're nice and big. No flat for your hands. One way I remember seeing in a movie that someone smothered their corn with butter, which is kind of what he had. Butter, piece of bread that was all buttered. And he took the corn and wrapped it all and buttered it that way. That's one way. Another thing I've seen, I used to have was just a little yellow thing, and it had holes in the bottom of it, and it was curved just a little bit, and you put the butter in there so you're not holding it, and you rub it on all over the corn. Okay, I'm just going to look at one of these. You know, they have a bit of time left, but let's see. See, it's not cooked up yet. Really, the way you tell, it's going to be hot and steaming, and the corn's going to be really soft, like it would be if you boiled it. Okay. We're going to move on while that finishes cooking. I'm going to move on to stuffed tomatoes. And these can actually be a meal in themselves. So I'm going to start off 4 nice ripe tomatoes. I got some pretty big ones. And we're going to cut the middles out. Now I did this the other night, and I cut like a big hole in them, and my official taste tester said they tasted just fine. But you know, whatever you want, if you want more meat in the middle or less, depending on, you know, how big of a tomato fan you are. We'll leave this particular one with more meat in it, and you're just going to scrape out the seeds inside and some of the middle. We'll leave these ones as a nice thick wall. We'll do 2 thick and 2 thinner. And then you're going to put it in we have just a square dish. You know, if you're doing less, you can obviously, you know, use a smaller dish. Of course, you always want to make sure you wash your vegetables really well ahead of time, especially, you know, if you haven't gone off the vine and picked them yourself, because, you know, if they're in the supermarket, you don't know how many hands have been touching them. So just take them home, you know, scrub them up nice, you know, maybe let them soak in water, rinse them off real well. And this, you're actually going to eventually just discard the centers here. Throwing things all over. So if you have any recipes, if you want to do a salsa maybe, or do something, you could, you know, you have these tomatoes you can do something with, or maybe you just want to eat them. All right. It can be a little tough sometimes to scrape it all out, but just take your time. Strange. I actually am not a very big tomato fan myself, but I like tomato products. You know, I love, you know, tomato sauce and other, you know, things that tomatoes are made out of. But tomatoes themselves, I've never been really fond of. I had them prepared once, and they were really good. But they had been prepared in another kind of sauce and cooked up with some pasta. This one, we're going to do a little bit of a bigger hole. Get a little more out. Corn looks like it's almost done. All right, and you can see I've got quite a bit of the meat out, or what they call the meat of a tomato. And the seeds, and that one, and you know, these have a little bit more if you want the more of a tomato flavor. Okay. Let's check on that corn again. Just be careful, it's going to be very hot. Just poke at it. Yeah, that's nice. I think those are about pretty much done. We'll go ahead and take those out. Just grab it with the paper towel. Because one thing at the microwave people seem to forget sometimes is that things do get extremely hot in there, and they do get cooked thoroughly. So you want to be really careful whenever you're taking things out. Even if you think if it's only warm on the outside, it might be really, really hot on the inside, especially if you've, you know, maybe stuck a pastry in there, and the filling will get a lot hotter than the outside. We'll just go ahead, stick the corn holders on. And we'll put some butter on after, and there's your corn. Okay, so on with the tomatoes. What we need for these is we need to chop up an onion. You need about 2 tablespoons. Now what I'm doing for my onion is I just have a little chopper. Someone here was saying earlier that whenever she chops things in her food processor, they don't come out very well. But this is, this is it's a small chopper. The blades are really small, and it's made just for chopping. Okay, so just going to do it a couple pulses. It's nice and quick. Got onion flying all over the place, and it's done. And we're going to put about a couple tablespoons or so in the bowl. I'm going to leave some of it in there because I'm actually going to need we need the onion for another recipe. Now, if some of it didn't come up, you want it really finely chopped. So don't worry, just take the big pieces out. And now you can do it longer too if it's not done enough for you. Okay, and to this, you're going to add 2 tablespoons of butter. And we'll stick that in the microwave. Wrap that up. And about 3 minutes or so the butter's all melted and the onions are going to be transparent, or maybe slightly brown. Now, another thing you can do also, you can do stuffed peppers if you don't want to do tomatoes, if you're not a tomato fan. Again, same thing, wash them real well, cut a hole in the middle and pull out all the seeds. And that pepper's not going to have the pulp in it that the tomatoes are going to have, so you won't have to worry about that. I'm going to just cut a little more out of here while we're waiting for that. On the peppers, you definitely want the seeds out of the peppers, though, because they'll be very hot. And keep dropping this, but that's okay. And again, you can put these, of course, if it's not the summertime, you can stick them in the oven. And that's fine, too. All right, we're going to take a look. All right, good. Our butter's almost melted. Now, like I said, you can use these as either a appetizer or, just a main dish. Get that going. I don't have any special, suggestions for how to pick a tomato. Just make sure it's red. And I was looking at some today in the store, and they're actually kind of soft. And you definitely do not want a soft tomato, because that means it's getting to the point that it's going to be going bad. So you want a nice, firm, hard tomato. Of course, red. The green ones, if you get one that's slightly green, you can take it home, put it on a windowsill, and that'll help ripen it up. I know we used to grow tomatoes. We had a small garden at home, and you stick them on the windowsill. The vine-ripe tomatoes, that's the type that, I think from what I understand, that's the type that's better because they wait until they're totally ripe, pick them off the vine, and I guess they get a much better taste to that. Okay, while you're waiting for your butter and onions, we're going to have 1 cup of breadcrumbs. Now I'm using the Italian kind because that kind is already all seasoned, and you don't have to add anything to it. But if you have just plain ones, that's fine too. And you can add some seasoning, some garlic, peppers, whatever you want. One of the recipes I looked at for these suggested putting a little paprika on the top once the mixture is all in. And you can do that as well. We're not going to do that today, though. Okay, let's see how these are again. Again, everything's going to be really hot coming out of your oven. That looks pretty good. Nice and melted. Okay. You can see somewhat, almost transparent. It's getting there. Okay, so to the mixture, you add 1 cup of breadcrumbs. Now, of course, if you end up not having enough mixture to stuff your tomatoes completely, or if you think it's too dry, just add a little more or a little less. Or add a little more butter to make it a little moister, or add some more if you run out. It's not really a big deal. Okay. You want it good and mixed up so all the butter is soaked into the breadcrumbs. These you can see aren't, it's still pretty loose, but you can see how it's sticking to that, and if you packed it, it's going to be nice and packed. So just take a tomato, and put it in. Pack it in nicely. Now obviously the ones that we left the more of the pulp and the meat in there, I'm not going to take quite as much. Should fill about 4. You know, you might have enough to do a little more or a little less depending on the size of your tomatoes. You know, maybe you want to do smaller tomatoes. You could try it with cherry tomatoes. Now, if you want, we'll do this. We're going to take just a little bit of butter. Put it on the top of each one. That'll just get a little extra moisture in it so it's not real dry, because that's going to melt down into the tomato. Okay, and we'll take some saran wrap, plastic wrap, cover these up, and then you're going to put them back in the microwave, and you will microwave them on high if you have a high setting. This particular microwave actually only has the one. And it goes in about 3 to 4 minutes till the skins start to break away. I'll show you what that looks like. Now it says, you know, make sure it's cooked all the way through, and that's, you know, you could stick maybe a toothpick or a long skewer in there, and that'll. Now actually, what I'm going to do for this, our oven's not big enough to turn this, so I'm just going to put it in without, and we'll put it on for about 4 minutes. And again, if it's not a turning one, you might want to turn it halfway through. Okay, let's cook. We'll just clean up a little bit here to get on to the next one. Okay, next, what we're going to do is stuffed mushrooms. Now, I was at a wedding reception, I was at a wedding reception, then I was at a wedding shower last weekend, and both places had the stuffed mushrooms. And I was never a mushroom person, but once I discovered them, I thought they were just great. So, what you want to do is just get some nice white mushrooms. Good, you know, try and get, uniform size, or get a different sizes, that's fine too. And you're gonna, bigger ones are better, I find. Need a piece of paper towel to throw these on. And you're gonna wash them up real good. Cut just the bottom end, just a little bit of the bottom off. And then pull out the tip. You can cut it out if it doesn't want to pop out. I already have some of them done for you. And I'm using a 10-ounce package, just about the size they come. Depending on how many people you have, and is the amount, it's going to depend on how many you want. And you can also do these in the oven as well. But again, we're trying to avoid the oven today because the weather out there is just unbearable sometimes, and sometimes even the thought of putting a stove on is just unbearable. It's just, you don't want to even think about that because it's going to heat up your house even more. And if you're not fortunate to have air conditioning or a good fan, then it's just not going to be good. It'll be too hot. Okay, we're going to use our chopper again. And I've left some onion in there from our tomatoes, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to put the stems of the mushrooms into our chopper. Go ahead and chop those up. A couple seconds it takes. I don't think it's, just push some of it down if it's not chopped enough for you. I think that's pretty good. Okay. Go ahead. I'll just take it off now. Okay. Looks like our tomatoes are almost done. I'm going to give them a quick turnaround. Tomatoes. And the time of the tomatoes and the time for everything is really going to depend on your microwave oven. Some are a lot stronger than others. Some are just meant for heating, little things up. Okay, so now you see what that looks like, and that's basically how fine you want them chopped. So having a chopper makes it a lot easier, so you're not, have you to use a knife, so that would take you just about all night and you'll never eat. Okay, you gotta put these in a bowl with, it's all mixed in with onion. And to that mixture, again, we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of butter or so. And once those come out, some tomatoes are almost done, we're gonna put those in there. So while we're waiting for that, we'll just arrange, you're gonna have a nice either a baking dish, or we're just gonna use a plate, because I forgot my baking dish, but that's okay. What I've used before is a pie plate, just a small, 8-inch pie plate. Okay, let's check on this. Oh, these are looking really good. All right. So these probably could stay a little longer, but we're gonna pull them out now. But they're nice and hot, and I don't think they're not quite pulling away. Well, this one here, you can see it is starting to pull away. It's getting a little crinkly, and that's what you want it. So see, the skin's nice and loose. And basically, you just put them on a plate, and that one's nice too. And they're set to eat. Fork and knife, and you're all set. Okay, let's cover up our mushroom mixture again. Do it until they're transparent, or is what the onion says. We'll put this back together. The onion is transparent, but again, a couple minutes. Make sure the butter's thoroughly melted. Okay, about 3 minutes. All right. So mushrooms, I know they've come in a lot of varieties. There is the portobello mushroom, which is the big, huge mushroom. Sometimes you get if you're out at at a restaurant. Okay, we're gonna just take a quick break while those are finishing cooking, and then we'll come back, stuff them, and hopefully we'll have time for dessert.
What would you do if you were on fire? I don't know. Jump in a tub? No, you gotta stop, drop, and roll.
If your clothes catch fire, you gotta drop to the ground. If your clothes catch fire, you gotta roll round and round. You just stop, drop, and roll. Get down on the ground and stop, drop, and roll. Stop, drop, and roll.
Okay, we're back, and we went ahead and started stuffing our mushrooms. What you add to the butter and onion and the stem mixture is a ½ cup of breadcrumbs, and you're just going to fill it up, stuff it in, and you stick it in the microwave for about 3 to 5 minutes until the mushrooms are kind of real soft. And we'll go ahead and do that, and those will finish cooking. Okay, now for your great non-cooking dessert, we've got going here. We have 2 boxes of instant vanilla pudding, the small boxes, and 3 cups of milk. And to that, you get the pudding first. You beat that up first. And to that, you're going to add an 8-ounce container of whipped topping. And we're making this fairly low fat. Once we get to the top, it won't be as low fat because we're using skim milk and we're using a light whipped topping. And you just mix that all in together till it's nice and blended. And what you're going to have done, waiting for you, is a 9 by 13 inch pan. And we've sprayed that so it doesn't stick. And you're going to line it with graham crackers. Now, if you want a different kind of, if you want to be really interesting, you could do chocolate graham crackers, or maybe even the cinnamon graham crackers. And just put some of the mixture down. A little less, about 1/4 of it or so. Oops. Or half, or whatever. Spread it out. Okay. And on top of that, you are going to put more graham crackers. Either side. Again, if you want another, you could also use chocolate pudding, I'm sure, if you wanted to be different. Smush them in there. Put rest of your mixture down. So just about half and half. Might have used a little extra on the bottom, but that's okay. It all evens out in the end. Okay, get it all up. I like the plastic spatulas I'm using because it just scrapes the bows really nicely. Yeah, okay. Probably did a little too much on the bottom half, but that's okay. Now, on top of this, what you're going to do is you are going to put another layer of graham crackers, but what you're going to do with this layer is you're going to frost them with chocolate frosting, and that's how you get the chocolate eclair part of it. So just frost it one at a time, or however you want to do it. Then what you'll do when it's all frosted, you stick it in your refrigerator, and you could do it for a few hours, 12 hours overnight if you have the time, if you're making it for a party or something for the next day. And basically what's going to happen, and what you want to happen, is you want the graham crackers to get soft, and so it's easier for eating them. And just if you want lots of frosting, go right ahead. Just slop it all on. And basically that's all that there is to it. Real simple. All right, our mushrooms are cooking, our tomatoes are ready, our corn is ready, and our dessert's ready to go into the fridge. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us. And remember, no matter what you're cooking or where you're cooking, have fun doing it. We'll see you next time.